Night falls over the city, the crescent moon hanging in the starry sky. The lights in the buildings are still on, signaling an evening full of upcoming events. Chu Qing returned home, opening the door with a pensive expression, seemingly not expecting anything unusual in the familiar apartment. As soon as he stepped in, Chu Qing was surprised to see Cheng Huahua, the pink-haired girl with twin ponytails, sitting next to his mother in the living room. Chu Qing's mother smiled and explained. She invited Huahua to dinner to thank her for helping the company and also asked her son to lend a hand. Chu Qing followed his mother into the kitchen, then turned back to tell Huahua he would return in a few minutes. Huahua just smiled lightly and replied, "Okay." The door closed. Chu Qing and his mother sat down to talk privately in his bedroom, creating a serious atmosphere. With a serious face, Chu Qing's mother straightforwardly asked, "What is your relationship with that girl?" Chu Qing awkwardly answered that they were just friends, but his mother continued to press. "What kind of friends? Has Huahua said anything to you?" His mother spoke from her intuition. She recalled that Chu Qing once liked Yi Chengxi. Now he was close to Cheng Huahua and thought this made him lack self-respect. Chu Qing felt wounded in his pride. Images of arrows labeled self-respect and pride piercing him repeatedly flashed through his mind. Calmly, Chu Qing responded to his mother's question. He planned to let all the girls become daughters-in-law of his family. Chairman Chu was stunned and shouted, unable to believe his son's plan. Chu Qing showed irritation, giving the excuse that he had grown up and even mentioned that his younger sister already had a son-in-law to his mother. Chairman Chu reluctantly conceded, saying he would overlook this matter but requested to call his daughter to dinner because she only knew how to make calls in her room all day. That night while the bright moon hung in the sky, Chu Qing entered his sister's room. Chu Xiao, the pink-purple-haired girl, was lying on the bed, happily video-chatting with her boyfriend. Chu Qing reminded his sister to stop calling since she had been in her room all day. Chu Xiao cheerfully told Chu Qing to come closer and promised to talk to him after finishing the call. 10 minutes later, Chu Qing sat dazed and tired from waiting as the call still hadn't ended. At his limit, Chu Qing grabbed the phone and shouted at Xing Tao, the boyfriend on the screen, to hang up immediately. The scene shocked Xing Tao deeply. The video call between Chu Qing and Xing Tao finally ended. The screen displayed, "Chat ended," closing a complicated romantic drama. As soon as the call ended, Chu Qing's sister, Chu Xiao, rushed over to hug him tightly with extreme joy, repeatedly thanking him for helping her. Chu Xiao happily shared that Xiao Tao's mother no longer opposed their relationship. She was curious about how her brother managed it. Embarrassed by the tight hug, Chu Qing blushed, forcefully pushed his sister's head away, and shouted for her to let go. Chu Xiao angrily retaliated with a punch, saying, "I just wanted to thank you," causing Chu Qing to painfully receive this favor. The two siblings entered a bristling mode. Chu Qing sat with crossed arms, sulking from being hit, while Chu Xiao puffed her cheeks and turned away. Chu Xiao tried to make peace, admitted her fault, and confessed that she knew she caused trouble but now everything was fine so they should be happy. Chu Qing softened his tone, praising his sister for finally saying something reasonable, but he quickly asked seriously, "Are you sure you can meet Xing Lai's mother's expectations?" Chu Xiao was embarrassed, her eyes dropping. She immediately asked back, "What did his mother say to you?" Chu Qing conveyed the condition from Xing Tao's mother. If within 1 year Chu Xiao could buy a house on Jik Street, then they could marry. Otherwise, she would have to become a son-in-law of the Xing family. Hearing the condition from Xing Tao's mother, Chu Xiao was horrified. She shouted that houses on Jik Street were worth millions, and even with money it might not be possible to buy one. She pressed Chu Qing, "Do you have a solution?" Chu Qing calmly replied that there were still a few ways to turn the situation around. Chu Qing suggested that Chu Xiao temporarily help their mother manage the company, as she was under too much pressure. That evening, Chu Qing met privately with Huahua, the pink-haired girl with twin bows, on a quiet staircase. Chu Qing asked Huahua to be a technical advisor for his mother's company to help develop new software. Huahua timidly asked back, "Can I really do it?" showing her insecurity about the big request. Chu Qing sincerely encouraged her. "If you can't do it, then no one can." Huahua remained worried, thinking his mother did not like her. He smiled reassuringly. "How could my mother not like you?" Then looked straight at Huahua. "Just say yes or no." Huahua blushed, lowered her head, and gently nodded in agreement, feeling deeply moved and happy. Chu Qing suddenly hugged Huahua joyfully. She shyly shouted "Kaya," but could not hide her emotion. Chu Qing unexpectedly took the initiative to kiss Huahua, making her blush and immerse in the sweet moment between them. On the upper floor of the apartment complex, Chu Qing's mother accidentally witnessed the intimate scene between her son and Huahua, her eyes showing suspicion and displeasure. Chu Qing immediately realized someone was watching, alertly looked up, and tightly held Huahua's head against his chest to hide the sensitive moment. Under the moonlight, Chu Qing continued to hold Huahua protectively, while his mother coldly observed from the balcony, her expression far from pleasant. Chu Qing's mother's anger fully erupted. Her face became terrifying, a murderous aura spreading, signaling a fierce confrontation was about to happen. Chu Qing and Hua Hua stood close to each other after an awkward moment. Hua Hua blushed, lowered her head, stammered a goodbye, and intended to leave. Hua Hua hurriedly ran away, leaving Chu Qing standing and watching her go. In his thoughts, he quietly realized that Hua Hua was gradually becoming like the kind of girl he once knew in the old world. From inside the house, Chu Qing's mother, Chairman Chu, sat with crossed arms and a stern expression, clearly still dissatisfied with what she had just witnessed. Chu Qing entered the room and straightforwardly proposed to his mother. "I want Hua Hua to work at your company." Chairman Chu did not refuse but coldly replied, "With her abilities, there's no shortage of job opportunities." Chu Qing firmly presented his plan. He wanted to expand the company, separate the IT department, and have Hua Hua in charge of software development. Chairman Chu frowned and questioned, "Why do you need to expand the company?" Chu Qing answered frankly, "For the Chu family." Reacting fiercely, Chairman Chu angrily shouted, "Why would you say that? What do you know?" Remaining calm, Chu Qing replied, "I don't know much, but avoiding it won't help. I won't marry into the Gong family, and I'm not afraid of Chu Anlin." Chu Tianan maintained his stance, bluntly stating that he was not afraid of Chu Anlin and refused to marry into the Gong family. This made his mother angry as she shouted loudly, demanding he return to his room. Tianan sat silently by the window, looking at the city at night, his mind tangled with thoughts about the past and the pain his mother had endured. Moonlight shone on his serious face as Tianan vowed to investigate the past thoroughly to understand the pain his mother had suffered. Tianan's mother opened the door and entered the room with a tense expression, surprised to find her son sitting in a dangerous spot. Seeing Tianan perched by the window, she worriedly shouted, demanding he immediately get down from there. Tianan jumped down from the bed in panic, stammered apologies, admitting his mistake for worrying his mother. His mother gently stroked his hair, apologized for her harsh words earlier, and admitted that her son was right. With sad eyes, she confided that she only wanted to live a peaceful life but never expected her son to be targeted by others. She affirmed that if she kept yielding, she would only be oppressed forever. This time, Chu Tianan would show them that her intelligence was not ordinary. Mother and son looked at each other under the moonlight, finally nodding in agreement, determined to face the storms ahead together. Chu Qing pondered beside the evening light, his gaze resolute. He knew clearly that now only one last matter needed to be resolved. The elevator stopped on the 67th floor. Chu Qing stepped into a spacious lobby where a beautiful woman was waiting on a sofa. The woman with long brown hair wore a tight dress, holding a cigarette holder, and asked directly, "Is your sister's matter settled yet?" Chu Qing did not answer, but handed over an envelope, evidence of his thorough preparation. Under an explosive light, Chu Qing launched the letter with fierce momentum, using powerful internal strength. The woman quickly caught the letter with 2 fingers. The light clashed brilliantly, but she remained unshaken. Chu Qing was secretly terrified. She was even more dangerous and powerful than Xing Wei, who had once terrified him. The woman slowly examined the letter. Her expression was serious and contemplative, no longer playful as before. She looked up at Chu Qing, her sharp gaze softening. "I want to know, how did you do this?" Chu Qing turned and left, his voice gentle. "It's all over now. I'll take my leave first." The woman in the purple dress, a powerful but unidentified figure, suddenly emitted a killing intent, questioning Chu Qing coldly. "Answer my question." Chu Qing turned back calmly and replied, "I can't say. If you want to know, ask Xing Lei." His answer made the woman laugh. Her sharp eyes narrowed with hidden meaning, a mysterious smile appearing on her lips. In the blink of an eye, she pressed close to Chu Qing, leaning against him teasingly. "Did Xing Lei tell you to keep it a secret? Are you afraid he'll kill you, or afraid I will?" She lifted Chu Qing's chin with her hand, pressing her chest against him. Chu Qing broke out in a cold sweat, stiffening in a dangerously vulnerable position. Unable to endure any longer, Chu Qing suddenly counterattacked boldly. He pulled her into a surprise, overwhelming kiss. Immediately, the woman angrily unleashed a palm strike, sending Chu Qing flying amid a burst of purple energy. Surrounded by killing intent, she coldly shouted, "Are you tired of living?" Chu Qing sprang up from the dust, coughing and wiping his mouth. The blow was strong but not enough to defeat him. He shouted angrily, "Are you all crazy? I'm a man. By the logic of this world, shouldn't I be the one suffering?" Xing Lei shouted furiously, energy exploding around her. She refused to accept being forcibly kissed by Chu Qing and regarded it as a serious insult. Without restraint, Xing Lei struck back, grabbing Chu Qing by the neck and lifting him into the air. The pressure from her made the whole room tremble. With cold eyes, Xing Lei disdainfully declared that she was germophobic, and just contact with Chu Qing's saliva was enough to disgust her. The young man struggled to free his hand from the woman's grip on his neck, his face both determined and angry. The beautiful girl immediately flipped him away with a powerful internal force strike, sending him flying far through the air. Refusing to be subdued, the boy quickly sprang up with a fierce look in his eyes, ready to counterattack. Suddenly delivering a kick aimed straight at the opponent's stomach, he caused the woman to lose her footing. The boy warned in a harsh tone, "If you do that one more time, I guarantee you will regret it." The girl kept a cold expression, brushing off her hand and ordering, "Apologize and compensate, then I'll throw you away like trash." He replied indifferently, "Apologize, is that enough?" the girl emphasized, "and pay compensation too." Confused, he shouted, "Why?" She then raised her phone. "You promised last time, want to hear the recording?" The image of the girl in sexy clothes appeared in his mind, holding a syringe, making him embarrassed. "My spirit is already damaged enough. I have no money. What do you intend to do?" The girl coldly responded, "Your damage is insignificant. No money? Then hand over the sword and I'll erase everything." He was flustered. "I don't carry a sword." The woman in the purple dress smiled slyly, doubting the mysterious appearance of the sword, and said a condition: "Reveal the secret or compensate. Otherwise things won't stop." The male lead calmly replied, considering her too greedy, his eyes still holding an unusual calmness. The woman in the purple dress laughed contemptuously, thinking the male lead was just a brat, then immediately threatened to kill him if he didn't hand over the secret. Facing the pressure, the male lead silently stared, his gaze shifting from calm to determined, ready to confront. The male lead drew a gun from thin air, light flared up, and he declared, "You're the one forcing me." He aimed the gun at the opponent, his eyes cold, his hand firmly squeezing the trigger. The gunshot rang sharply. The bullet, carrying a strong, twisting energy, shot straight at the woman in the purple dress. She was not frightened at all, raising her hand to block the bullet. A dazzling light burst as the bullet made contact. A giant beam shot straight into the sky, exploding midair, causing the entire building to shake. The male lead quickly jumped out of the explosion's epicenter, still gripping the gun tightly, his face extremely alert. Chu Ching gasped amid the thick smoke and dust, his eyes full of vigilance as he sensed the danger was not over. From within the dust cloud, a tall figure gradually emerged with a terrifying aura, making the surrounding air seem frozen. Meng Zui leisurely stepped out of the smoke, carrying a huge weapon shaped like a cannon, showing absolute dominance. She coldly looked at Chu Ching and sneered, asserting that with only level 3 Vong Zion bullets, he could not harm her. Meng Zui raised her cannon high, declaring that not only did Chu Ching have Vong Zion bullets, but she also possessed this weapon. Chu Ching remained confident, mocking that Meng Zui might only have 2 or 3 bullets while he still had all 4 bullets. Meng Zui was momentarily stunned, her eyes sharp and cold as she realized she might be cornered. Chu Ching squinted, smirked slightly, and silently tightened his grip on the gun, ready for the next counterattack. Realizing the unfavorable situation, Meng Zui changed her attitude and proposed peace by offering 100 spirit stones to end their feud. Chu Ching immediately rejected it, saying that price was insufficient. He raised his hand, preparing to reveal another condition Meng Zui could not refuse. Gong Yue unleashed a powerful palm strike, preparing to counterattack Chu Ching with a blazing explosive momentum. A small orange light appeared in her palm, causing Gong Yue to momentarily freeze. Chu Ching smiled calmly, reassuring that it was his sincerity, and suggested Gong Yue try absorbing it. Gong Yue silently observed the glowing orb, her eyes somewhat suspicious but curious. Finally, Gong Yue decided to absorb the energy that Chu Ching offered. Immediately, a fierce power burst from Gong Yue's body, filling the space with thunder and light. Gong Yue opened her eyes brightly, surprised by the effect. She smiled and asked Chu Ching how many more things like that he had. Chu Ching raised his fist, affirming that if negotiation failed, he was ready to fight to the end. Gong Yue laughed and happily agreed. "All right, deal." A while later, Gong Yue sat comfortably on a chair, playing with the energy orb in her hand, surrounded by piles of spirit stones, symbols of wealth and satisfaction with the deal just made. Meng Zui leisurely admired the glowing orb in her hand, recalling the last time Chu Ching destroyed the house pillar and collapsed the entire roof. Truly crazy. She smirked, silently thinking, everything is just beginning. As Meng Zui, she lacked nothing but a male pet, and Chu Ching would definitely not escape her grasp. Outside, Chu Ching had left the villa, looking up, standing before a tall building, his eyes resolute toward the night sky. He thought silently, this nightmare, sooner or later, will bear the Chu name. Chu Ching had decided he would turn this power game into his own stage. Chu Ching arrived at his mother's company, the Chu family, a modern and spacious building where he was appointed to work. In the IT department office, employees were being attentively guided by the pink-haired girl tied in 2 pigtails, the newly appointed head of the technical department. Chu Ching appeared, making the atmosphere in the room livelier. Everyone smiled happily when they saw him arrive. Chu Ching suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Head of Department Hoa, I have a question." Hoa blushed and angrily shouted, "Are you teasing me?" Chu Ching explained. Previously, he was assigned as an advisor, but his mother, Chairman Chu, appointed Hoa as the head of it. Chu Ching gently praised, teased. That shows you are very capable. Everyone admires you. Hoa Hoa felt both touched and embarrassed. Hoa Hoa blushed deeply. I thought you came to tease me, Chu Ching replied. No, I came to invite you to dinner to celebrate. Hoa Hoa happily suggested going for barbecue, a dish she hadn't enjoyed for a long time. Chu Ching agreed with a gentle smile. As the two were leaving, a voice called out loudly from behind, Chu Ching, making them both turn around in surprise. Chu Ching and Huahua were leaving the company together when a purple-haired woman rushed over, tightly grabbing his leg, crying and complaining about work pressure. Chu Ching held the purple-haired girl's head and sternly warned that if she couldn't handle the company's pressure, she should go become a daughter-in-law of the Xing family. Huahua was amazed by his decisive attitude. Immediately threatened, the purple-haired employee regained her spirit, stood up, and loudly declared her determination to continue working. Chu Ching and Huahua continued walking side by side. The purple-haired girl returned to the office full of determination. Huahua looked full of admiration and gratitude. The next morning, Chu Ching returned to school. A clear blue sky welcomed him as he entered the classroom. Chu Ching entered the classroom. The atmosphere was quiet, with male students around focused on studying. Suddenly, someone grabbed Chu Ching's sleeve. A gray-haired male student directly asked if he had written an apology letter yet, surprising Chu Ching. The male student explained that because Chu Ching did not make it into the top 10 in the exam, he had to write an apology letter and read a self-criticism report at the morning meeting. Chu Ching firmly rebutted. He confidently asserted that he was not the type to easily admit failure, although the male student argued that no boy had ever made it into the top 10. The homeroom teacher, a sharp and strict woman, entered the classroom with a triumphant look, holding the exam score sheet in her hand. Standing before the class, the teacher smiled meaningfully, as if prepared to strike a blow to the students' morale. The whole class waited tensely. Chu Ching was called by name in front of the whole class. The teacher coldly demanded that he inform his parents to come to school tomorrow. The girl with green hair and 2 braids, Song Kaoran, sighed worriedly. She secretly guessed that Chu Ching definitely did not make it into the top 10. Chu Ching rebutted, claiming he did very well on the test. If he still didn't make the top 10, then the ability of the top group was truly unreasonable. The teacher announced that Chu Ching only ranked 11th and suspected him of cheating. She even sarcastically said, cheating but still missing the top 10 is a real failure. Chu Ching angrily stood up to refute. He demanded evidence and stated he would not accept being slandered without clear proof. The teacher smiled coldly, confident that the surveillance camera footage would prove everything. With a calculating expression, the teacher revealed the real reason. She was taking advantage of this opportunity to retaliate against the proctor who had embarrassed her. On the basketball court, 2 female students were playing fiercely. One of them was the purple-haired girl tied in a ponytail, Tang Ziyan, holding the ball in an attacking stance. On the court, Tang Ziyan was cut off by a brown-haired female student with a rough shirt-pulling move that made her fall. The brown-haired girl smiled slyly and informed Ziyan that her boyfriend, Chu Ching, was accused of cheating on the exam and was being taken by the principal into the supervision room. Ziyan turned away indifferently, declaring, "That has nothing to do with me." The brown-haired female student pulled Ziyan's hand, inviting her to follow and watch, revealing that this was an opportunity for her to attack Yimao, the person she liked. Ziyan smiled meaningfully, predicting the outcome. You will be disappointed with the result. The two secretly looked inside the supervision room, where the investigation was taking place. The brown-haired friend exclaimed in surprise upon seeing both the principal and the proctor present there. Inside the room, Chu Ching was facing many teachers and the proctor. A security guard sat controlling the surveillance system. The principal, a short-haired woman with a sharp appearance, sat leisurely drinking tea, observing the situation. The principal recognized Tang Ziyan and invited her to enter. She politely bowed and greeted, "Hello, principal." Tang Ziyan and her close, short, brown-haired friend entered the supervision room, standing behind Chu Ching. The strict teacher still wore a tense expression. Chu Ching and Tang Ziyan looked at each other, smiling confidently. Their eyes seemed to understand that justice was about to be revealed. Everyone focused on watching the CCTV screen recording the exam. Chu Ching sat upright at his desk, concentrating on his work, showing no signs of cheating. The screen clearly showed a close-up of Chu Ching seriously taking the exam, with no suspicious movements. In another corner of the classroom, a gray-haired female student with a high bun secretly looked at a classmate's paper and covertly passed signals. The cheating behavior was truly exposed. The strict teacher was stunned. Her face showed clear embarrassment, unable to believe the truth before her eyes. Confusion rose. The teacher gritted her teeth, tense because she knew she was about to lose all credibility in front of the principal and students. Unable to contain herself, she turned and loudly questioned Teacher Wu. "Didn't you say you saw Chu Ching cheating?" In a tense ball contest, Tang Ziyan was pulled by a classmate by the shirt and fell onto the basketball court, her face clearly showing discomfort. After the match, the brown-haired girl Tao Yunao appeared, teasing Tang Ziyan that your boyfriend had just been taken into the surveillance room for cheating on the exam. Tang Ziyan calmly turned her back and coldly replied that it was none of her business. Tao Yunao did not let go, pulling Tang Ziyan by the hand and saying this was a rare opportunity to see your boyfriend in trouble and that she could take the chance to get close to Yi Ma. Although being pulled along, Tang Ziyan kept a calm expression and replied that Tao Yuna would be disappointed with the outcome. The two arrived in front of the surveillance room. The sign clearly stating, "Surveillance Room," made the situation even more serious. As soon as they opened the door, they saw the principal and the proctor both present inside, and the atmosphere became tense. The scene inside showed many teachers watching the surveillance screens, notably the principal sipping a cup of tea. The principal recognized Tang Ziyan, smiled and called her name, while she and Tao Yuna greeted seriously. At this moment, a proctor appeared along with Chu Qing, the male lead and also the suspect of cheating. Tang Ziyan and Tao Yunao followed behind. The principal left the room, leaving full authority to handle the matter to Ms. Zhang, the discipline teacher. Ms. Zhang turned to Chu Qing, acknowledging his contributions in previous basketball games, while apologizing on behalf of the school and promising support if he faced difficulties. Chu Qing smiled, admitted his own mistakes, and said that Tang Ziyan's mother was too strict. Tang Ziyan and the brown-haired classmate, name unknown, walked with Chu Qing down the corridor. The girl looked surprised that Chu Qing made it into the top 10 students. Chu Qing was astonished, unable to believe he was among the class leaders. Tang Ziyan explained that a female student who cheated and was previously in the top 10 had been disqualified, so Chu Qing's score was pushed up to 10th place. Tang Ziyan smiled and congratulated him, calling him the first boy in history to enter the top 10, creating a special moment. The brown-haired girl showed suspicion and asked Chu Qing if he used any undetectable cheating methods. Chu Qing replied sarcastically, telling her to fix her brain and affirming that he did not cheat. Tang Ziyan laughed happily beside him. Two male students in school discussed that Chu Qing was the first male student to enter the top 10 and paired perfectly with Tang Ziyan, which further strengthened the school's interests. Teacher Tong Fei announced to the class that today a transfer student would join the class. Chu Qing felt relieved after the previous incident, as Tong Fei no longer bothered him. The transfer student, named Li Yaowei, entered the class under the sparkling, attracted gazes of everyone. Chu Qing was amazed to realize Li Yaowei was the effeminate boy previously mentioned as Tang Ziyan's fiancé. Li Yaowei introduced himself confidently and politely, asking everyone to help his friends in the coming time. In the corridor, Chu Qing and Tang Ziyan chatted intimately. They attracted looks from surrounding students. Chu Qing teased Tang Ziyan, suggesting that it was her mother who arranged Li Yaowei's transfer to be closer to her daughter. Tang Ziyan smiled mischievously and asked back if Chu Qing was jealous of Li Yaowei. Chu Qing immediately dismissed it, saying Li Yaowei was not worth jealousy. Tang Ziyan kept teasing, encouraging him to be honest with his feelings. Without another word, Tang Ziyan suddenly reached out and hugged Chu Qing's face in a loving gesture. Tang Ziyan suddenly kissed Chu Qing on the cheek, leaving him stunned and speechless. The intimacy between them became increasingly evident. That affectionate act unfortunately caught Li Yaowei's eye, who was silently watching from a corner of the corridor with jealous eyes. Li Yaowei clenched his teeth angrily, his eyes full of envy as he saw his former fiancée being intimate with another. Tang Ziyan walked with a happy face, softly humming. Behind her, Chu Qing was still confused, touching his cheek as if feeling the afterglow of the kiss. Li Yaowei hurriedly approached Tang Ziyan as she just left Chu Qing. This scene caught the eyes of Chu Qing and their classmates. The curly brown-haired friend beside Chu Qing anxiously asked, "Aren't you afraid that Li Yaowei will take Tang Ziyan away?" Chu Qing smiled confidently, saying that if Li Yaowei really won Tang Ziyan, he would personally deal with it. However, he also looked forward to the foolish performance from his rival, expecting it to bring many interesting things.